This is Cult Film Face-Off.
Bonjour, hello, bienvenue. Welcome to Cult Film Face-Off, episode 68. First of all, before I introduce my co-host, I want to say thanks to Andrew, 198205, for just suggesting this pairing for this week's episode. With me, as always, it's Chet Roivas.
Hello.
And I am Nick Leonard. Now, in this episode, we're going to be talking about a pair of gang action dramas from 1979. We are, of course, talking The Warriors versus The Wanderers, both released in 1979. First up, and slipping on a maroon leather waistcoat and ready to bop, is Walter Hill's The Warriors. In a near future, the street gangs of New York City are summoned by Cyrus, the leader of the most powerful gang, the Gramercy Riffs, to unite and take over the city. Cyrus is killed and the Warriors are falsely blamed and now must fight their way back home as they are hunted by every gang in town. The Warriors.
These are the armies of the night.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
The Furies. The Boppers. The Hi-Hats. The Lizzies. The Turnbull ACs. The Gramercy Riffs. And these are the Warriors.
We know about the Warriors. They're a heavy outfit.
They're from Coney Island.
Warriors. You guys are the big dudes, huh?
Now they're in the Bronx.
We're going back.
27 miles behind enemy lines.
It's the only choice we got.
Between them and safety stand 20,000 cops and 100,000 sworn enemies.
I want them all. I want all the Warriors.
They've got one way out. They've got one chance. They've got one night. The Warriors.
So, Warriors, I'm assuming you have seen this.
I've seen it a couple of times. Yeah, I saw it in my teenage years. Much loved by many friends of mine. Never quite understood wholly why.
No, I was the same.
Really?
I got so much love. Well, my first experience of The Warriors was late night television, flicking it on BBC Two or something, or wherever it was on, and catching bits of it and going, oh, this looks fucking heavy. This looks like it's going to be violent. This looks like it's going to be like pull no punches, be really gritty. Then getting around to watching it, always going like, yeah.
Yeah, I think I had a very similar. I think it's one of those movies that's kind of like Scum is another one where boys of a certain age, some of them are just like,
it's a rite of passage.
Yes, I think so. But the way that they talk about it, it's like, oh, you've got to see. People handed it to me on DVD, like. Or probably, actually, to be honest, back then it was probably on VHS, and I watched it and I thought, yeah, it's okay. I was actually in the run up to this episode, I was thinking about it a lot, and I was trying to remember what I thought about it. And the more I thought about it, I thought, this is a very silly film, isn't it? I remember even as a child,
it's daft. As a kid, I was like, it's daft.
It's silly. I remember just thinking back to all the, I remember guys in purple leotards and the guys on the roller skates. I was like, this is like a kids' film. I mean, this is before I'd watched it, but yeah, that's the recollections I had.
Yeah, my recollections is I thought it was going to be this great thing, and then watching it and then going like, yeah, and always remembering the Baseball Furies being the coolest gang and the Orphans being like the wackest gang. I mean, really, the Orphans are terrible. What a shithouse gang. My favourite gang, though, I don't know what their name is, but they are the least intimidating gang on the street, is the Mime Gang.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
they don't get enough screen time.
I think that's for a reason, though, because even as a kid, I remember like, hold on.
What the fuck are they doing?
Hold on a minute. There's no way that they'd be a New York street gang. But anyway. What did you think of it going back to? Because my reaction to it this time was completely different. Did we both watch the director's cut?
I was going to say first off, I watched the director's cut.
Yeah, me too.
All I could get from the differences, I don't know if the run time's different or anything like that, but you've got a prologue that evokes this kind of Greek legend.
Xenophon. It's a simple story, but at the beginning it says, that was a story of courage, and so's this. I thought, I didn't really need the comparison to be made.
That's not giving me any more.
It's not the deepest comparison to make in the world. But I've mentioned this website many times, movie-censorship.com. possibly .co.uk. I think it's .com. If there's 2 versions of any movie, and you're interested to know what those details are, that is an excellent website. I looked at this for The Warriors, and as far as I can tell, aside from the new transitions...
Yeah, and the animated transitions.
I think there's a couple of... either Walter Hill used different shots, or he elongated shots that were already in the film. So, I mean, the differences are minimal. Exactly,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, I thought those comic book frame transitions kind of just blunted the impact and hampered the film's flow. I didn't think it added anything.
Yeah,
it just made it jut out. It's like, well, this is 79... That is making it... I mean, just taking me out of the film.
I do agree with that. However, when I started noticing that was the primary edition for the director's cut, I thought this is the most self-conscious director's cut of all time, because it seems to be that Walter Hill's just holding his hand up in the air and saying, look, everybody, before it was cool, I was making a comic book movie before anybody realised this is actually a comic book. Exactly. So I thought that was amazingly self-conscious, but throughout the course of watching it this time, I really appreciated it in a new way, and it's because of those transitions. So I would never ever recommend that somebody watch this version over the other version, but as blunt and as obvious as it is, I thought, wow, it is actually a really, really effectively done comic book film. So on that level, I mean, I absolutely loved watching it this time. Did you? Was it more positive for you watching it?
No, I got basically visually it's very striking.
Yeah.
The music is just
it's a tremendous
awesome.
soundtrack.
It's an outstanding soundtrack by Barry DeVorzon. It's moody, atmospheric, energetic, and it just matches those gritty urban backdrops, vacant subway stations, and. It's just an amazing soundtrack and one of the most iconic theme music from a film. It's fantastic. It's brilliant. I really enjoyed it. It was. I can completely understand why it's got its cult status now. It is over the top. It is kind of like the violence at times is very theatrical.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, but it is. I mean, I think the comic book thing is really important because, it's like a great comic book. I felt like I was looking at a comic book because it's a lean, mean action movie, like something like, for example, I don't know why I'm pulling this out of the ether, but Die Hard. It's lean, completely relentless, but there's a weird, unnatural slowness to it. And I always, I haven't read comic books in a long time, but you pore over the artwork and the sort of imagery for ages, and then when the action scenes come, it's like pat, 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 it's a lot faster. So that weird, slightly stilted slowness, you kind of bask in it a little bit, and you kind of, I found that really.
There's a lot of lingering frames, but it's just soaking up the atmosphere.
But even when they're conversing with each other,
but there's a lot of lingering. There's a lot of lingering shots,
and someone will speak, and there'll be a pause, and there's lots of pauses and stuff like that. And I really appreciated how much of the visually, it is a very comic book. I mean, there's one shot in particular when the warriors are running in the rain, the thunder's above them, and you see all their shots. I was like, that looks like a comic book image. Similarly, when Michael Beck, I've forgotten his fucking character's name, but he's being ghosted.
Ajax.
Is that his name?
Is that Ajax?
To be honest, I can't remember any of the characters. But Michael Beck, the lead, he was when he's being ghosted. Swan. Is it Swan? Yeah, I think that's
Swan and Ajax. Yeah, Swan's the leader.
When he's being ghosted in the subway train by the guys on the roller skates, I was like, some of the images, I'm just like, Walter Hill really did make a comic book film.
A scene that really sticks out in my head is the whole pursuit by the baseball furies. It's just lit and it's just soundtracked. It's just brilliant. It's got this pulsing kind of soundtrack. These sinister guitars come in and kind of. You're just like, fuck, this is fucking bad.
And it also, it beat the music video boom of the 80s by quite some. I mean, music videos were still a thing, but the opening 2 to 3 minutes, the opening credit sequence, it's like a load of brilliant bullet points, bang, bang, bang.
But nothing had been like that.
No, I don't think so. It still feels goddamn fresh. It really does, and it's so succinct. Bang, bang, bang. All of these people expressing their trepidation about what's going to happen, who's going to be there, why is this happening? Bang, bang, bang. Everyone travelling there. It's like a fucking amazing music video with obviously the sort of the main theme, and I was just like, this feels so goddamn invigorating.
But also the scale of it. I mean, you do believe there's like fucking 20,000 fucking gang members there.
Yeah, totally. As cartoonish as some of it is, you do I mean, I was completely and utterly involved in a way that I certainly wasn't expecting. I mean, It's just, I don't know how to. It's one of those movies that's kind of hard. I think I can't remember when the last time I was kind of lost for words a little bit, but there's just a hum. Like there's just a vibe. Like, it felt like it was jumping out of my TV. It's such a. There's just life in it, you know.
Well, I just think there's a richness.
Yeah, but
there's a richness and pulpiness to it, which is just. I mean, it's just really unique. It's not. I mean, you know, it's not for my liking. It's not gritty and violent enough, but that's just not the way it plays out.
That's what I found.
I kind of want
to forgive that.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, I was like, why are these people just fucking getting?
Yeah.
Like, I thought this was going to be
really violent.
And when you read about how when it initially came out, there was like
people were fighting in the cinemas,
and they had. And I think the studio said to cinemas, if you don't want to show this anymore, we'll reimburse you for the fees you had to pay and all that stuff. And it's the idea that happened is so funny looking at it now because it's
camp as. Really camp.
It really is. I mean, the guys that they still stuck out to me when it cuts to them in the park. The guys in the purple leotards. I'm like, there's no fucking way. Everybody you come across isn't trying to start trouble with you because you don't look like you. Yeah. So, did you spot Mercedes Rule?
Mercedes Rule?
Yeah, the actress who won an Oscar for The Fisher King. She was the policewoman on the bench.
Oh, no!
I caught her
the one that
away.
collars Ajax.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I saw her and I was like, whoa, that looks exactly like... And it was her, young Mercedes Rule.
I did spot a cameo by Sonny Landman, who's Billy from Predator.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's one of the cops.
Was he?
Yeah.
What, that arrest in the park?
Oh, God, I can't remember. I watched it a while ago.
Okay,
But he plays a copper in it.
Okay.
And Steve James... from American Ninja,
no way.
is one of the Furies.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, the cast is so fucking gigantic. I'm not surprised.
But that's what's good about it as well, is that there is no stars in that cast. It's a cast of unknowns.
Yeah, that's totally true. I really like the fact that I always think, whenever I see his face, I think Sully, because that's who he plays in Commander. So I always call him Sully. What's his name? Luther. David Patrick Kelly, the guy who shoots.
Cyrus.
Shoots Cyrus. Yeah. I mean, he's got the most punchable face in the world.
Without a doubt.
And when you see his gang, you've never seen a collection of the most punchable...
That casting's brilliant. Because they're the biggest douches that you can assemble.
Just looking at them, you're like, I hate all of you. I don't know why, because they look like such...
They're hateful. It's great casting.
It's weird that... sorry, I keep calling him Sully. His name Luther. His name's Luther in 48 Hours, another Walter Hill film.
Yeah.
Bit weird. I mean, maybe it's supposed to be that character grown up. Who knows? Maybe it's just a coincidence. Bit strange. I did wonder whether there was a lot. I read through a lot of old reviews about when the film came out, and a lot of people berated it for its comic book stylings, which I'll get onto when we talk about The Wanderers. But it also said that the female characters are really, really poor. And
there's only one really female character that features.
There's also the female gang.
No, yeah, the Lizzies.
Yeah, I was like. I was trying to look at it and just...
They are pretty underrepresented.
But then the guys aren't really sketched really either. It's difficult.
No, I mean, it is very comic book.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking... Because I was kind of looking at it and just thinking... I mean, the main girl, basically the central female character... It's a bit of a male fantasy, this woman who wants to just basically jump in his pants and run away with him. I mean, but... Also, I thought it was weird how they threatened to rape her. And it was kind of implied that was something they did. And I was like, is that something that they do? You'll probably like it. And I was like, we'll run a train on you. And I was like, is that something you guys do? It doesn't really go into the... I don't know why I'm mentioning that. I just thought it was weird that there was a...
It did suddenly get a bit sexually... Oh, it's a little bit awkward. That feels a bit uncomfortable, because that's not really how they come across.
I was going to say, it's very different, a bunch of people fighting over turf and a bunch of guys going out and gang raping women. I was like, who are these?
I felt a bit...
That was a strange moment,
It's just a great story. It's a great story, a gang having to get from one point of town. But I mean, really, you should have just fucking just all chipped in and got a cab.
Walter Hill should have made an alternate version where it starts and they're just like, let's go half something. Two cabs. Oh, I mean, that would have been... They missed a trick. Did you see that thing Rolling Stone did like 2 years ago? Where
they reunited them. That is wicked.
And they did the train journey.
We should stick that on our Facebook and Twitter.
Oh yeah, we'll do that.
It's a wicked vid.
Yeah, it really is. The one fault that this film has, I mean, there are several, but the one that really matters is that well, go on. You're going to say something?
Well, no, I was just going to to segue back to what you were talking about before with who's the character with the most punchable face in the world? What's his fucking name? Luther. His reason for shooting Cyrus? I just fucking do these things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what?
Yeah.
I mean, why didn't you give him a reason? Give him a fucking reason.
Yeah,
I mean, give him a reason. Like, why has he got beef with the Warriors? That felt a bit like, come on,
You've
give
got
me
to be a
some
reason.
context.
And then at the
Why
end,
finger the Warriors?
Yeah,
Why do it?
It's true. It's like, because he's just like an agent of chaos, I suppose. I don't know. Yeah, that's thin. Like, it would have been great if you were given a reason why they were.
There's something to do with. I mean, it would have just been more heft.
Yeah.
It just seemed a bit feeble.
And that leads on to the crazily convenient wrap up where I keep calling him Sully. Luther admits everything, and the riff.
And the riffs. How the fuck did they hear that?
How did they hear that? On the other side of the bitch, we'll take care of it. I was like, that's a bit of a letdown. I would have liked.
But what a great place to end it.
Yeah,
but it's like.
Oh, they heard everything. They know what's happened. He basically admitted it.
You want him to get a beat, but that could have been just way more satisfying.
Yeah,
and it wasn't. And it is daft that the Gramercy riffs are like fucking like 200 metres away, and they heard all of it.
Yeah, we're gonna. What do they say? We found who we're looking for. And I'm like, have you? I mean, yeah. It's
and I do like as a device. That's very comic booky as well. Actually, is to having the DJ giving updates on the Warriors' plight and who's failing to fucking rumble them. Definitely. It's just a great. I just love all of that. The dials on the radio station flicking back and her the close up on her lips talking. It's just fucking slick.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, mild commercial success, I'll say, when it opened the box office in the States. It took $3.5 million on its opening weekend, and it closed at $22.5 million in the States. And then Rockstar came out with a subsequent computer game and made $37 million off the computer game.
Did you ever play that game?
Yes, but not for a great period of time.
Because
didn't really get on with it.
Yeah, I watched someone play.
A bit confusing. I was just like, oh.
Yeah. I saw someone playing. I was like, but now I was thinking I could probably get a PS4 for nothing and have a look. I'd be very interested.
I know a lot of people loved it at the time.
Yeah, no, friends of mine recommended it. But yeah, this film it kind of glows. There's something vibrant and
timeless about it.
Yeah, it felt like I was watching something that. I don't know. It was like it was happening inside my TV. It's so hard to describe what I mean, but there's something so urgent about it.
Yeah, I think there's just. I mean, the music, and there's just such arresting imagery in there. I mean, I'm just a sucker for all those fucking just bleak, rough streets. Subway stations that used to really make you feel fucking like whoa. You'd never want to ride the subway in New York, which have completely been cleaned up now. It just captures that time. Blood, even though it's some time in the future.
And it's sort of it's warped up to be something essentially a sci-fi film. But yeah, it does. It's sort of a document of that period, and it's just. I mean, it really is fucking cool as shit. I don't know how else to put it. As simple as it is, it's just there's something. It captures something,
and the soundtrack plays a huge part. There's disco funk in there. There's hard rock riffs. It's just a really gritty sort of sound palette. Yeah, I mean, fucking hell, I enjoyed it way more than I thought it was going to be because I was never a big fan.
Me neither. I absolutely loved it. To be honest, I just thought it was. It felt like it was popping off my TV.
So great to see it on a crisp Blu-ray as well.
The Blu-ray. It's a fucking shame that the original version. But then again, these very, very ham-fisted transition have. I have to admit that
it made me think about it. I did not like them whatsoever, but. To emphasise how comic booky and graphic novel-y it is, it serves a purpose.
Yeah, so I, on the one hand, like at the beginning, I was like, "This is so self-conscious," but it actually opened my eyes to what the film
being
is.
Like comic book,
which is it's a fantastically, terrifically entertaining film. I loved it, and I'll watch it soon.
It deserves its cult status,
no doubt.
But I do want to see a cleaned-up version of the original.
It's there's a lot of sort of.
Does one exist?
It does. I think they're being very. I don't know. It's as complicated and weird as all of those situations are. Where I think somebody owns the rights to this and they can't put that out and blah blah. But if you have no choice, then the director's cut is an excellent film. But the original is where to go if you can get it.
Right. Let's go on to the next.
Yes, let's do that.
Next up, and sweating profusely due to overuse of hair pomade, it's The Wanderers, directed by Philip Kaufman. The Wanderers are an Italian-American gang vying for respect on the streets. They get into a major dispute with rival African-American gang, the Del Bombers, which leads to violence, bloodshed, and the fight of the gang's life. The Wanderers.
Back in '63, there was one kind of music.
Yeah, all right, some rock and roll.
One kind of love.
No, not yet. In a couple minutes we're gonna be naked, then what?
We gotta give it up!
and all kinds of gangs.
If you ever need us, just whistle loud. We'll be there. I'm in love. Look at that.
Teenage trouble. The terrors of their turf. There were the Fordham Baldies.
I got a urge tonight.
All right, let's stomp some ass.
The Dell Bombers. The Wongs.
What we do, Joey? What we do? Nothing. They just started chasing me.
And then there were the Wanderers.
Leave the kid alone.
A legend in their time. The Wanderers.
So The Wanderers. Have you seen it?
I have seen it. I saw it many, many years ago in my teenage years. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm not mistaken,
I lent it to you.
I think the first time we ever met, we discussed The Wanderers, I think. I mean, I'm pretty sure we did. We discussed a series of movies. Lahane was one, and I'm pretty sure The Wanderers was one. And that
Texas Chainsaw Massacre we talked about.
Probably, almost certainly. But at that point, I had never heard of it. So, yeah, I saw it at that age. I was 16, 17, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I'd had it for a few years. I remember having it at school. So, like 12, 13 or something. I had a video.
You liked it back then?
Yeah, I don't know how I ended up with it. I can't remember if I borrowed it off somebody. I really don't remember buying it. I think someone lent it to me. One of those things that you fucking just end up never giving back.
Accumulating shit, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't really have a strong memory of it. I remember his dad. His dad's fucking good value. I mean, honestly, we should do a GIF of his dad on the playing field with his plank. I mean, never have you seen a guy who wants to fight so much.
That's a strange character, I have to say.
I think he wants to fight more than Russell Crowe. And Russell Crowe loves a fight!
Okay, so I mean, you liked it back in the day.
Yeah, I had a soft spot for it. I had a soft spot for it back in the day. It certainly wasn't mine. I didn't watch it loads. I was just like, oh yeah, Wanderers, yeah. It captures the period detail superbly from the 1960s.
Another terrific soundtrack.
And I mean, really outstanding in terms of the selection of the music.
Big. I mean,
you got Bob Dylan.
You could say that it goes a little bit obvious. I mean, they're all huge hits, but you can't argue with them.
No, and it's all, and there's different sort of genres in there as well. I think I like about it. I mean, it's all very doo-woppy, and you know, you got Chet Baker in there though, Dion DiMucci, who did the actual Wanderers theme tune. It's a lot of teen angst.
Yeah, it's a very angsty film. I mean, the thing that really shocked me when it started was like it's so similar. This was actually a perfect pairing.
Yeah.
This was also inspired by comic books, and it has a very comic book aesthetic. I mean, when it started, I thought this is like a cartoon or a kids program. When you see, like, you know, there's the I forgot his name, the Terror, the massive ripping the gate off the hinges. When Perry turns up and he just beats a massive gang of skinheads up single-handedly, and then there's that point later on down the line where they take a wrong turn into like Dry Iceville.
What? They go to the Duck Boys turf.
I mean, it's really cartoonish. I thought, wow, this is like the comic book aesthetic is very prevalent here. What's interesting is that the Warriors kind of got slated for its aesthetic, whereas I think that's a very, very true representation of what it's like to read a comic book, the sort of stop-start nature of it in particular. This was praised, and everyone said, oh, it's so great that they've taken a comic book style and sort of applied it to this coming-of-age drama. The classroom scene towards the beginning, when the teacher makes them write out the racial epithets that they use to describe the different races, I thought, wow, this is going to be a message movie.
There's no message.
That scene sticks out like a sore thumb. I was like, why was that scene even in it? Give me all of the racial names that you call each other. Okay, see you later. That's the end. I thought this was giving up to be a really a meaningful.
There is no. It is wafer thin. No, there is no meaning in here.
No, it's not. It's a terrific. I mean, I thought it was absolutely fantastic, this film.
It's an entertaining, very entertaining film, but there is nothing under the surface.
That was disappointing. Even the presence of the Marines in the background. You know, the Marines.
Yeah, but they could have even made that. But that's, you know, I think that was a missed opportunity because you've got this kind of dark cloud of Vietnam hanging over that time period, and it's just used as a throwaway scene with a guy twiddling his tash, trying to get them all kind of signed up.
Basically, in the beginning, I was like, this is going to be a message movie of some kind, and it just absolutely is not. Even though there's a couple of things that you think, okay, where's this going? Oh. Shit.
There's more messages in an episode of Happy Days.
That's true. That's probably very true. But I thought it was a spectacularly enjoyable film. It's one of those stories that's so well told that if it's memorable enough, it will probably be timeless. And I think it might be that good. It's one of those films where I started out hypercritical because I thought I took against it a little bit because it was slightly cartoonish. The longer it went on, and I just thought there's something sort of...
It's very charming.
But it's also, there is something slightly profound about it in a way that all of films that sort of deal in nostalgia try to be, but it's a lot more subtle about the way it goes about it.
It's a really entertaining movie, and I was just swept up in the period and the nostalgia. It's just the period detail is. I can't underemphasize that. It's just, it captures that time and that feeling and that warmth and the music.
Yeah,
perfect.
And I thought it really captures something about that period in your life. That period.
Yeah, teen angsty of like coupling up with girls.
There's the scene where they're pursuing Karen and Alan in the car before they get to Dry Iceville, which is ridiculous.
Black boys.
They just like spontaneously start bursting into song, and I was like, that's kind of the shit that you do when you're kind of. It just shows how little of an adult you actually are. You know, when the baldies get drunk and they like get so hammered they accidentally join the Marines, I'm like, yeah, I can relate to that. The strip poker game with a lot of different things going on, I feel like I've been there kind of. I mean, it's an incredibly difficult film to dislike, and that has a lot to do with the cast. I think it's an amazingly well cast film.
The cast are good throughout, but I love the gang. I mean, you know, don't fuck with the Wongs. That's funny. Yeah. The Wongs are very, very funny.
There were actual funny lines in there. I mean, I really loved Richie's girlfriend's dad.
Oh, the Jersey mob guy.
When he's chastising Richie for having got his daughter pregnant. I used to play the field, but I never banged someone's daughter. There are some really fucking sharp lines like that in there.
But I think that could be the first representation of, like, you know, that whole Jersey mob dressed in Hawaiian shirts. I got about it. I mean, I think it could be the first.
You're not wrong. Yeah. It's a superb coming of age film. Angst hangs over it, and not in an obvious way. You know, normally it's like, this is the last day of school. What are you going to do after we all break it?
I don't know. It just works.
I think Richie, the lead in this film, either he or his best friend is always talking about his aspirations. I want a better life. I want to go somewhere. While he's still figuring his shit out, and he's still trying to... I mean, he's still a child, essentially. And then
he's still playing games with they grab a boob on the street and try to...
They're still children. And the two people in his life who need to move on, not want to, they need to move on. There's something poetic about that, because necessity is always a factor. It's not romanticised. It's not two guys disappearing into... Like, they have to move on because they have no choice. Whereas Richie is stuck perennially in this life as a child. Yeah. And it's the one thing I will say about it is, if you're a misogynist, this is like your Eden Lake or some black dark horror, because the film opens with Richie deflowering a virgin, or so he thinks, and he gets her pregnant, and then he finds out that she's not a virgin by any stretch of the imagination, and he can't leave her because he's going to get killed by her father, so he's forever locked into this situation. But that's what the story is, a guy who had every opportunity to mature and get out of this life, and he's now in it forever. I think there's something really poetic. I mean, it's kind of bleak and hard hitting, but the movie has such lovely vibrancy to it, and just and
camaraderie between the Wanderers. You really get that. You really get them as a group of men, and loyalty and humour and.
There's no
childlike abandon.
But when they part company at the end, when Richie knows they're going away forever, there's no. Most films milk it. There's a sadness to it without that shit, and I just thought that it was a really mature.
Yeah, there's no saccharine at the end.
Yeah, it has that. The film ended, and I was like, wow. It's like you feel like you've been with those people, and you feel like life's taking them where they're going, and I don't know. In a way that all movies. That they try so hard to make you walk out and go, well, you got to appreciate this, you got to have got out there. You know, this really does it without resorting to cliches, and I thought that was just I thought aspects of it were quite poetic, actually. Do you know much about the guy who played Terror, Erland van Lid, the massive...
No, but I'd like to know more about it, because his voice is fucking brilliant. Because that voice coming out of that fucking vessel is like...
I never expected that.
Okay. he sounds a little bit like Heavens to Murgatroyd.
What's
that name, that character?
I never remember that character's name.
Fucking animated cat.
Yeah.
Heavens to Murgatroyd. I lost a bet with that once. I had to pay for a whole meal and drinks with the guys having dinner with me. I was like, "There's no way you're gonna remember that." And you went bang, and you hit me. I was like, "What?"
It's not Top Cat, is it?
No, because that's no. It's not. I don't do a Top Cat impression.
Okay.
Officer Dibble. No. No.
Okay.
Like that even.
We'll have to Google that in a second. But that guy, Erland van Lid, I mean, as you can tell by his name, probably he's Dutch. Yeah. I think he's from Dutch nobility originally. He was an opera singer. He was a computer programmer. He was an actor, obviously. I mean, I just looked.
Is he alive?
No, he died very young, 34, I think. But I looked at his.
What films was he in?
He was not Buzzsaw. He was Electricity Man in Running Man. Yeah, that's where I recognised him from. But I looked at his Wikipedia page and I was like, wow, what a fascinating
life,
rich life. I mean, he died way too young. But
how did he die?
Heart failure, I think. Yeah. But he was like a baritone, like an opera singer as well. I mean, you read it, it's like this is like someone's made all of this up. But he led the most amazing life. And
I recognise Perry. Perry's been in stuff.
He looks like about 5 people. Like he looks like Jonathan Silverman a little bit. He looks like a couple of other actors.
A bit like Eli Roth.
That's true. Yeah. I know where I feel like I'm going. I was blown away by The Wanderers. Honestly, I thought this was going to be, it's perfectly fine. I think it's so smart and it's so reluctant to resort to cliches that it hit me the way films like that are supposed to, where you're really supposed to reflect on things and really sort of think about that period in your life and life in general. I thought it was... Honestly, this was complete... When the credits rolled, I was like, what a terrific film that was. However...
Yeah.
The Warriors.
Yeah.
I can't even describe what I mean. That's such a.
I can't go Wanderers over the Warriors.
I'm tempted.
I can't. I was more surprised about the Warriors than I was. I mean, because I knew that I had a bit of an affection because I owned it. I watched it a few times. Never owned the Warriors. It was always a little bit. People used to rave about it. It used to always be a bit despondent, be a bit like, whatever, like Warriors.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
No, I was just like, it completely deserved its cult status. But in the defence of the Wanderers, it's got nowhere near as much as exposure as the Warriors. So it's like, I kind of want to champion the lesser of the two, but I can't. It's Warriors for me, but the Wanderers is a great film.
I mean, it's legitimately, I think, a brilliant film, and I think
it doesn't get enough. But it's like a forgotten film.
Yeah, it kind of is, and that's a terrible, terrible shame. But
because there's nothing like the Wanderers.
I think
they're both very unique films. You've got West Side Story and Grease and all those fucking.
There's other things, yes.
But I think these are two very wholly unique films. I
think you could compare The Wanderers to a lot of films, but it's better than all of them. Whereas The Warriors, I just think it's part of its strength. Part of its strength is its ridiculous simplicity. I think you could stick that film on anywhere at any point, and it would resonate with people just because it's so. It is like a really, really great comic book.
Yeah, but it's hugely atmospheric. Yeah, and you're just swept up in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can totally understand why that film's still alive and kicking today because it felt like it was kicking me through my TV. I can't describe the vivid. I mean, even just the way. I mean, look, you have to get if you're thinking about watching it again, or if you haven't seen it, get hold of the Blu-ray because just
it looks. I mean, they've done a proper job on that print.
Superb. Yeah. And I mean, I think both should win, but. If we have to pick one, and we do, it's The Warriors. But The Wanderers is a fucking sensational film.
No doubt.
But The Warriors, it's The Warriors, you know what I mean?
Come out to play, yay!
Go on, you'll do good.
There we go. Thank you very much for listening. We would love to hear what your thoughts are on these two films. Have you seen The Warriors? Have you seen The Wanderers? Are you haters, lovers?
Fighters.
Don't fuck with the wongs. Let us know. But thank you very much for listening. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter. Eventually all of our movies are cut to picture on our YouTube channel. Give that some love, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks.
All our podcasts are on there too.
Down straight.
Cheers.